Hey y'all. Today I wanted to give a demo of a GitOps based automated workflow for infrastructure provisioning for VMware Virtual Cloud Director. In this demo, what I'm going to do is actually show how you can get a well defined blueprint for a satellite location and the downstream clusters in that satellite location and actually automate the entire build out of not only the satellite location but also the infrastructure that's going to live in VMware Virtual Cloud Director instance and build out of the clusters in that location as well. So to start, we're going to look at this repo that I will paste a link to in the video description as well, where we actually have a automation here and configuration that's actually going to define the control plane machines of the location itself. So you'll see the zone, US East 1, the number of machines, CPU, memory, and disk sizes. And you'll see that for also the additional two zones. And then what you'll see as well is on top of the location getting defined, we actually define a cluster that has, a GPU worker pool with specific characteristics. And then it also has a regular worker pool with different characteristics as far as CPU, memory, etc. And what we're going to do with that actually defined, what we'll see is this main reconcile script here will actually take that information in, create the satellite location, provision the machines, and automatically assign them to the associated control plane nodes or the downstream cluster in addition to ordering the cluster, and effectively provide a fully automated infrastructure provisioning flow for a satellite, which is really cool. So with that in place, let's actually go and now fire this off. So I'm just going to go to the repo that this is in. And we'll go to provisioner and we will launch the reconcile script. And now we'll watch as well the satellite location get created. Awesome. And then what we will see shortly is in the associated VMware instance, we're going to actually start seeing some infrastructure get provisioned here too soon, which will be really exciting. And at this point, we will actually now start seeing the machines start to get created. So we'll see we're creating a virtual application here that's going to actually run the VM that is associated with the satellite location. So we'll let that go. Just continuing to set up the virtual appliance here, and ultimately we will see the VM also get configured as well. Awesome. And now we'll start to see configuration on the specific VM be done. So we're going to see some information as far as the name changes and some of the characteristics, specifically with the networks that the VM is joining, and the name of the VM itself. Change here. So now we'll see the VM name has updated as well. We'll see that the CPU and memory actually got resized. And the network card is going to get updated as well here shortly. And it's going to get updated to join the network that we configured the automation to have it join, which will be Tyler Testnet here. We now see that got updated to join the network. And then now you'll see that we're actually resizing the disk size as well. So now the disk size will go from the default value from the template up to the actual size that we configure, which will be 100 gigabytes. And then with all those commands done, we'll actually see that we will start to power on the machine. And once that is done, we can pop back over to the satellite location logic, and we will see the machine actually pop up on as a host on the VMware location, and then ultimately get assigned. So we'll give a sec there for that to pop up. You'll actually already see in parallel while that one's popping up, we already have another one firing off since we configured 2 nodes to be launched. And now we'll see the host join the environment. And ultimately, we'll go through and we'll see that get assigned. So um, we'll leave that sort of be here and check back in a bit to watch the assignment process and then watch the script as it continues to go on through the automation process. And then just a heads up, at this point, we can now see that we have actually booted all 6 control plane nodes that we set out to boot as defined in the 2 counts in each zone. And based off that, when we actually look at the hosts on this location, we can see they all automatically join the location and are starting to get assigned and join the individual zones in the satellite location. And ultimately, once that happens, the satellite location will get configured. It will be ready to have control satellite rocks control planes deployed into it, and then we'll be able to actually set up the satellite rocks cluster in the VMware environment, and also automate the provisioning of those machines as defined in the cluster file underneath the cluster file there. So we will stay tuned for that. At this point, now we'll be able to look at the satellite location and we'll see that it's in normal state. And then very shortly, we should see the cluster get ordered and provisioned. Yep, and we'll see that right here. So now we'll see the cluster has provisioned or is deploying now. So first, the automation, the reconciler went in and ordered the satellite location, set up all the control plane infrastructure, which allowed the satellite location to fully configure. And now we're deploying a satellite rocks cluster into that VMware environment, and it will now start to actually provision the associated machines for the worker pools in that environment as well, as you'll see here. So as we previously defined, we had a GPU worker pool with specific characteristics and a regular worker pool. And what we're going to see is the GPU worker pool is going to get configured now, and the infrastructure associated with that, and it'll be followed up with the regular worker pool. So we'll give that some time and then check back on that. Lastly, we can now start to see that the final machines are provisioning here for the downstream cluster. And if we look at the downstream cluster, we can start to see some of the machines have popped up. The cluster exists. And we can access it and deploy workload to it, which sort of completes the entire setup of the actual cluster. So we have one machine here left to add. What I want to do as well then with that piece is actually show how in the same workflow we can remove machines as well. So what we'll now do is we'll go to the GPU worker pool and then say that we just want one machine instead of 2. And what we'll see is the reconciler will actually go and remove that worker pool and or remove that worker and then resize that worker pool back down to 1, and also remove the worker from the infrastructure portal. So now we'll watch that kick off. In a second, so let's see the nice, we have those 3. And we'll see that GPU worker pool get resized to 1. And then what we should see here shortly is with this provision pending, we will see one of these nodes actually get removed. So we'll wait for that. Actually, if we look at the cluster, we should see the nodes starting to get corded and drained here. So it's just going to go through, corded and drain that workload, and then once done, it will actually start to proceed to remove the node. Awesome. So now we see that node starting to get deleted. And then once that node is deleted, ultimately the process will go in and then actually remove the machine from the back end as well. So we'll actually see one of the GPU nodes on the corresponding VApp here get removed out of the system. Awesome. So we see that node now just got removed. And then what we can do is watch the portal here. And then we will actually see that the corresponding Tyler cluster D5 host that was removed will get removed from this backend portal as well. So just give that a sec. And we're starting to see those actions now. So you'll see that the virtual app is getting stopped. And then now it's getting deleted. So with that, that actually shows the full process of how it gets removed from satellite and then also gets removed from the back end. And this completes the demo showing how through this sort of GitOps based workflow that you can not only fully create your satellite location in VMware, VMware using Virtual Cloud Director, you can also scale up and scale down your environment as well on demand. So thank you so much for y'all's time, and look forward to speaking with you all again soon.